Hey everybody, we're coming to you this week from a place that looks like you ought to catch a fish on every cast. Look at all this stuff. Cypress trees, grass beds, lily pads, Spanish moss hanging out of the trees. It is a spooky looking place that's got a lot of bass in it. We're going to explain all about it, tell you where and how you can catch some too. Coming up, because Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hi everybody, we're coming to you today from one of the most unique and diverse reservoirs in our entire region. This is Millwood Lake. The lake is actually the dammed up little river that's in the southwest corner of Arkansas. We're going to be fishing for largemouth bass today, but it's also got a great population of crappie. It's got bluegill, panfish of all kinds. It's a beautiful place. We're going to show it to you today and show you a little bass fishing as well. And while I'm out in my Tracker Pro Team 195 fishing my way along, we're taking you around the region for your latest fishing reports from our expert team of insider reporters. They're all over the region and they're in your local area to tell you what's going on this week in lakes, rivers, and bays near you. So, going to get things situated, get the trolling motor down, start fishing our way along. Right now, let's get things started back at the FSN studio with your weekend planner.
Hello everyone, I have some great news. The fishing forecast for the weekend is outstanding. Saturday's game fish activity is expected to be among the best of the month, and Sunday's conditions are listed as excellent. You can expect peak daylight hours to begin in the afternoon on both days. The sun will rise at 6:20 and set at 8:39. And evenings will be dark with a new moon on Friday. We're coming right back with fishing reports from around the area. Plus, I'll return with Bassmaster angler Ish Monroe for this week's Ask the Pro question. Stay with us.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lew's, fueled by passion, driven by innovation. Feel the difference. Jean LaRue Bass Baits and Bobby Garland Crappie Baits, the leaders in soft plastic lures innovation. And Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Champions aren't born, they're made.
Oh, got it. He got my frog. Got it. All right, came out of there and ate my frog. Everyone got it. He got my frog. Got him. All right, came out of there and ate my frog. Look at that. I got a frog bass. Oh, and he's got it good too. Fatty. All right. Hey, Lake Millwood, everybody. Welcome into the swamp. Look at that. There's an old nasty floating, kicking frog, and there's an old yellow, dark looking moss colored bass right there. See you, buddy. Look at this. This is the gnarliest looking, prettiest looking bass water you can ever hope to fish right here. You've got a big choice to make when you come to Millwood. You're either going to fish one of two completely different ways. You're either going to do what we're doing right now, which is run up the river, the little river, and it just snakes its way for miles and miles and miles, and it's got all these oxbows and little ditches and ponds and creeks running in, all kinds of vegetation. It's just got everything a bass could possibly want. Or you're going to run down the river and out into the main lake, where you're going to be fishing either underwater, submerged creek channels, standing hardwoods, cypress trees, and much more open water and some really cool grass beds. Two completely drastically different ways you're going to choose to fish. I'm going to do this some more, and I wish you were here doing it too, but since you're not, let's find out what the fish are doing where you live.
Hi folks, this week's Lone Star Lakes is brought to you by Chili Cheeks, makers of the innovative cooling cushion. Freeze a Chili Cheeks insert and you'll sit on a cushion of cool all day long, whether you're fishing, golfing, or watching the game. Now, we've been fortunate enough to spend the last week traveling around Texas, fishing several lakes, and we really had a blast. I want to tell you about some of these. First of all, remember that summertime is the time for recreational boat traffic and those high temperatures. To beat those two fishing issues, you can fish during the week if you're able. That'll help you get away from some of the recreational boaters. And Lake Athens is a perfect destination for that. Bass right now are schooling on top. Use your topwater baits like your poppers, your torpedoes, and your Zara spooks. Keep a soft plastic like a D-shad or assassin ready to go as well. And tie on a deep diving crankbait. If you can get below the school of fish with that deep diver, you'll oftentimes catch a larger bass. Now, another way to beat the Texas summer heat, fish at night. Purtis Creek is a perfect destination for that. We fished there last week and we were able to catch fish on a black buzzbait, a black spinnerbait, and a blue fleck 10-inch power worm. Fish the buzzbait across the points to start, then roll the spinnerbait about 3 feet deep through the assorted timber, and finally drag that power worm through those tree stumps and grasses. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Chili Cheeks. Now let's check in with Mr. Bill Olson. You'll find him on the coast.
Hi folks, this week's report is brought to you by Port Aransas on Mustang Island, the fishing capital of Texas, where anglers enjoy pristine bays, estuaries, 18 miles of surf, and the deep blue waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Plus the local restaurants will even cook your catch come sundown. Come fish and play Texas Island style. For more information, visit portaransas.org. Well, anglers fishing out of Port Isabel have found some protection behind South Padre Island early and then drifting the flats during windier portions of the day for redfish. The causeways continue to give up trout, redfish, drum, and mangrove snapper. The land cut remains an option to escape the winds. Rocky Slough and the Badlands have given up solid trout for those drifting. Anglers fishing croaker continue to see solid action from Pita Island north of the boat hole. Around Mud Island, Dagger, and Quarantine Island, some good fish have been caught. Anglers looking to escape the crowds on back lakes out of Port O'Connor have found success wading around island structure as well as shorelines. Those anglers fishing San Luis Pass, East Galveston Bay onto Sabine Lake have scratched out trout and redfish on live bait as well as soft plastics on light jig heads. This weekend, Saturday has a double tide schedule of 2 high and 2 low tides. This Sunday's a 3 tide day with 2 high tides and just 1 low. I'm Bill Olson, and I'll see you on the coast.
He's got it. Got him. There he comes. Right around that tree. Not much of a fish, but he's a feisty little bass nonetheless. All right, well, we're still up in these bayous, these oxbows, and we're catching bass. There's a little guy right there. You always hear about the classic cypress trees and cypress knees fishing, and that fish came right off the base of one of those 3 cypress trees right there. In fact, we're going to talk more about cypress tree fishing today and a couple of the little intricacies about it that can help you catch more bass. Stay with us. We're coming back to Millwood Lake, Southwest Arkansas, right after. Blew up on my topwater. One lone dead cypress tree right on the end of a little point right there. That's perfect. There's one. He's got it. Swimming with it. Got it. Got it. There we go. Come in here, you little rascal. All right, he's right by that cypress tree. Boy, they are beautiful fish here at Millwood. There's a little song that my kids used to sing. It was on Sesame Street many years ago. And it goes something like, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not like the 3. So the deal is, all these cypress trees, thousands of them, lining this entire shoreline. How do you know which ones have the bass? It's the one that's not like the rest. Big, thick row of them and one sitting off to itself, that's the one. You've got a long row of them and it makes a little point coming out and there's one sitting on the end of a point, that's the one. You've got a bunch of dead ones and one's alive, that's the one. You've got all of them out in 8, 9 feet of water and one's sitting up in 3 feet, that's the one. You've got to figure out which cypress tree is different than all the ones around it, and likely that's the one that's holding the bass, and you flip around that one. Because you can't fish them all. I mean, in a day, you can't fish all these cypress trees. There's way too many of them, so you've got to pinpoint which one's holding the bass. Find the one that's not like the others. Sing Sesame Street in your head, you'll catch more bass. Time for more fishing reports for you.
Hey friends, Cajun Phil here with your Fox, Louisiana Outdoor Fishing Report. I tell you what, it is getting hot. Matter of fact, bad hot. But you know what? Got 2 great reports this week from bass being caught at night. One of them came from the False River. Talked to a couple of friends of mine who were actually fishing a nighttime tournament, and they told me that they were fishing boat docks, throwing buzzbait and small chuggers. They had 2 fish over 6, had the rest of them went 2 to 3 pounds. They had a good tournament. They ended up winning it. Also talked to a couple of our guides that took a couple of days off. They went up to Toledo Bend. They fished at night for a couple of nights. They caught their bass in what we call deep water humps. They're actually sitting the boat in about 30, 35 foot of water, but they're throwing up on a hump that's about 15 to 18 foot. You want to find a hump or a ridge, as we call it, that's got brush on top of it. What they were doing is they were sitting in that deep water, throwing a 10 or 11 inch plastic worm with a 1/2 ounce slip sinker. They would work that worm up to that brush. When they get in the brush, they would just shake it. They said the big bass would come in there and annihilate it. The other story is saltwater fishing. Talked to everybody from Lafitte, Shell Beach, Hopedale, Delacroix. Talked to my good friend Josh Howard down in Venice, Louisiana, over in Houma, Bill Lake, and all the guys there. Everyone's catching lots of fish now, especially lots of speckled trout and redfish. Fish is good. Till next week, this is Cajun Phil, Captain Kevin, and happy fishing. May God bless, and we're going to see you folks next week.
One blew up on my top water. Oh, he is up. Some kind of upset. Okay, there is another Millwood bass, and he's got my top water crossways. You think he didn't want that really badly. There we go. Man, these fish are really black looking in here. Those are dark fish. The reason for that is bass, I don't know if you knew this or not, but they adapt. The pigment in their skin adapts to their surroundings. So you see all that nasty green, dark vegetation. That's where these fish are living in, and their skin just pigments up. A lot of times if you catch a fish out in open water and he's just out on a sandbar or something, he'll be a real light colored bass. But these in here are living around all this gnarly stuff, and they're really, really dark. Well, I switched gears a little bit. What happened? Hey, this is letting your environment and your surroundings dictate what happens. We've had a big cloud bank move over. In fact, we're expecting some rain later on, but it's gotten dark. You can see how dark it is right now. So I decided to put on a bright chartreuse topwater chugger bait. And what I'm doing is going along the edge of this stuff right here, and I'll show you right here. Just make a little quick pitch right there. Making it gurgle along like that. And hadn't had it on here very long. Just made a few casts right up against that stuff, and one of them came up and got it.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Motor Guide Trolling Motors. Motor Guide, because accuracy matters. Lowrance Electronics, celebrating 60 years of fish finding excellence. Find, navigate, dominate. And Excite Technologies, powering the world forward.
Oh, I've got the fish and all that goop. There's one. Come out of there. Come out of that old gnarly, nasty stuff. There we go. Oh, I've got the fish and all that goop to go with it. All right, I got him. All right, well, that's cool. Welcome back, everybody. We're on Millwood Lake today. There's some old nasty stuff right there. And there's an old nasty largemouth bass for you. We're catching them okay today, but let me tell you what just happened. That is so cool. You see all kinds of stuff out here. I picked up a frog and I was fishing down some lily pads. You saw me catch one on a frog earlier. Hook's buried in there so it doesn't get hung. And I made a cast right back in here on that little point of lily pads right back in there. And I pulled it through there and that fish blew up on it, huge, right on that little point of lily pads. Threw back in there, blew up on it a second time, missed it both times. So you always want to have a follow-up bait. So what I did was I picked up a lizard. This is a buffalo lizard, a Texas rig. There it is right there. And I just pitched it right back in the exact same spot. Pulled it right back through there, and that time he didn't miss it. So when there are just thousands of acres of everything that looks the same, find the lily pad patch that looks different from everything else. You find the bass like that one. Here's fishing reports for you.
Hey, Charles, Jewel, and son Chase had another really good recent fishing outing to Lake Texoma that I want to share with you. They were fishing in an adult youth division of the tournament trail there, won it with nearly 17 pounds. Charles said they had a good solid limit within the first hour of fishing by doing nothing more than concentrating on the wind-blown riprap areas and rocky points. Both guys were tossing soft plastics. Chase was throwing a LaRue Mega Ring 2 and Charles was throwing a 4-inch twin-tail grub. Both guys were Texas rigging those baits. Chase behind a 1/4-ounce tungsten sinker and Charles had his rig behind a 5/16-ounce tungsten sinker, fishing around those rocks. Charles said they also caught a good number of white bass and striper on those same lures in those exact same areas, so they had a really good fishing outing there. Charles said they were able to catch some fish on bridge pillars too, which is another great way to fish this time of year as we get into these hot days of summertime. Go down there. Before you even get to that pillar, you can tell by watching your sonar what depth you need to be fishing, and then make sure you get those baits down around that depth. Now, Charles also said the fishing on Lake Murray is somewhat slow, but the fish being caught are by catching them on topwater baits fished over the beds of grass. Look for that grass on your sonar, or look for areas of grass activity that's starting to emerge around the top itself. Great time of year to be fishing. We've got some wind, we've got some heat. Use those things to your advantage, and remember, you can't catch them if you don't go.
If you're coming to Millwood Lake, you need to get comfortable fishing around alligators all day. You can actually get fairly close to them, and there's some great big ones. If you want to book a guide trip here at Millwood Lake, you can do bass fishing, crappie fishing. It's a fun place to come fishing regardless of what you catch. Contact Mike Seifert at Millwood Lake Guide Service right there on your screen. He's been on this lake many, many years, one of the originators of the channels and the marked boat lanes and all of that kind of thing. So he definitely knows his way around, and he can put you on some fish. We'll be right back to Arkansas right after this.
Be sure to join Fox Sports Outdoors again next week, Thursday at 5:30, or catch the repeat airing Saturday morning at 8. And you can always watch the latest episode in full HD on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Plus, catch up on all past episodes by clicking the archive button. And see lots of our how-to and product videos by selecting the how-to button. Join our online fishing community. Just click the like button on our Facebook page for access to daily posts, and stay up to date with all the latest fishing information and photos by following our Twitter feed. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Tracker Boats. It's more than a boat, it's a tracker. Mercury Marine, go boldly. And Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get right to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Ron wants to know, what are your favorite and least favorite ways to catch bass? For an answer, we asked Bassmaster Elite Angler Ish Monroe.
Well, what is my most favorite way? Gosh, I got a lot of favorite ways I love to catch bass, but I'd say my most favorite way is flipping. Big rod, 8-foot Tatula Elite Series Daiwa rod. You know, we're talking 65-pound Maxima braid, 25-pound Maxima fluorocarbon, one of the two. and a big jig. We're talking 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce jig. The reason I like that so much is that big jig has a 6/0 hook in it. So every time I set that hook, it's got a big hook in the roof of their mouth. And flipping, you don't lose a lot of fish when you're fishing that way. You've got big rod, big line, and a big bait, and you're catching big fish. And so that is probably my most favorite way to catch fish. Now, my least favorite way to catching fish is probably the old wacky rig or a drop shot, anything that has to do finesse fishing, because I'm a firm believer in catching big fish. And don't get me wrong, finesse fishing does catch some big fish, but on a day in and day out basis, you want to be throwing a big bait, because big fish like big bait. So I don't like to finesse fish because I feel like I don't have an opportunity of catching big fish every cast that I make.
Thanks, Ish. If you want some help from one of the pros, go to foxsportsoutdoors.com and follow the Ask the Pro link to submit a question. Now it's time for the Costa Catch of the Week, where someone wins a brand new pair of sunglasses.
Back at the boat ramp, and time to announce this week's winner in the Costa Catch of the Week Big Fish Photo Contest. He's Joshua Sterling of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, showing a 27-inch walleye he caught at Lake Hefner, Oklahoma. If you'd like a chance to be our next winner, just go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. You'll find the Costa Catch of the Week box. Follow the instructions, send us your big fish photo, and you might be our next winner. And if you'd like to check out all of the Costa frame and lens styles, just go to their website by going back to our homepage and clicking on the Costa logo. You'll see all of the 580 glass and polycarbonate lenses in all the different colors, and all of the frame styles, including the one I was wearing on this week's episode. This one is called Trevally. Let's talk about frog fishing for a minute on our gear segment. You need specialized gear if you want to horse those bass out of those lily pads and grass beds like we did on this week's episode. It begins with a really heavy action rod. This is the loose TP1 speed stick rod in a heavy action, and you can see it's got a lot of strength all the way to the tip. You can't have a wimpy rod trying to get those fish out of the lily pads and grass beds. The reel I was using is the brand new Lew's Speed Spool SLP super low profile reel. Fits perfectly in the palm of your hand, perfect for doing what we're doing. And finally, you need braided line and big stuff. This is 65-pound test braided line. Again, you've got to horse those fish out of the lily pads, and a lot of times you got to go in after them. Just for a moment, I'd like for you to think of the worst mistake you ever made. After making those kinds of mistakes, I often hear people say something like, well, that's just who I am. It is not. The good news I have for you today is that God created every human with a unique purpose and destiny, and that destiny is not to be our worst screw up. I encourage all of us to rise above our mistakes, to hold ourselves to a high bar, a high standard, and to move ahead. We all make the world a much better place when we do that. Hey, I hope you enjoyed our trip today to beautiful Millwood Lake. We caught a lot of bass today. Not a lot of big ones, but a lot of bass, constant action, and you would have a lot of fun if you booked a guide trip here. Here's Mike Seifert's contact information one more time for Millwood Lake Guide Service. We will see you right back here on the show next week. Until then, I'm Barry Stokes saying be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.